The chamber was massive, built to hold beings from 1,000 different worlds. Crystals floated in columns of light. Creatures made of pure energy drifted through the air. Some delegates had bodies like insects, others like living stone. At the center of it all stood one human, looking very small and very alone. Ambassador Tae-young adjusted his suit jacket for the third time. His hands wanted to shake, but he would not let them. Behind him, a holographic display showed Earth in blue and green, rotating slowly. He had practiced his speech 100 times. He had memorized every fact, every achievement, every reason why humanity deserved to be here. The High Arbiter spoke without moving what might have been a mouth. Its voice came from everywhere at once, translated into Korean by the device in Tae-young's ear. The species from planet Earth requests evaluation for council membership. Present your case. Tae-young stepped forward. The floor beneath his feet was transparent, showing the planet Valorum Prime far below. He tried not to think about the drop. Honorable council members, he began. His voice carried through the chamber, amplified by technology he did not understand. Humanity comes before you in peace and hope. We are a young species, yes. We have only recently reached beyond our own world. But we have much to offer. He gestured, and the hologram changed. Images of Earth's cities appeared, towers of glass and steel reaching toward the sky. We have built civilizations from nothing. We have created art, music, and literature. We have unlocked the secrets of our world through science. A council member that looked like a cluster of floating crystals made a sound like wind chimes. Your planet is divided into 207 separate governmental units. You cannot achieve unity among your own kind. Tae-young felt his throat tighten, but he continued. We are working toward unity. The formation of the United Earth Coalition is proof of our progress. 70% of our population now lives under cooperative governance. Another council member spoke, this one resembling a massive insect with too many legs. Its voice buzzed and clicked. Your military capabilities are primitive. You still use chemical propulsion for warfare. Your weapons are kinetic and explosive. You have barely mastered fusion energy. We are learning, Tae-young said. We are advancing every day. That is why we seek council membership. To learn from those who came before us. To contribute our unique perspective to the galactic community. The High Arbiter's form rippled like water. Show us your military strength. The hologram changed again. Tae-young showed them Earth's defense fleet. 23 ships, the pride of humanity's space program. They were sleek and silver, armed with railguns and missile systems. To human eyes, they looked powerful and advanced. Silence filled the chamber. Then something that might have been laughter echoed from multiple delegates. It was not a kind sound. These are your warships? Asked a being made of living metal. We have civilian transport vessels with better shielding. Tae-young felt heat rise to his face. Our technology may not match yours yet, but our determination is strong. Humanity has survived ice ages, plagues, and wars. We have adapted to every challenge our world has thrown at us. Adaptation to planetary challenges is common, said the High Arbiter. All species that reach space age have done the same. You are not special in this regard. The hologram shifted without Tae-young's command. The council was taking control of the display. Images of Earth's history appeared. Wars, pollution, nuclear explosions. The screen showed humanity at its worst. Your species has nearly destroyed itself multiple times, said the crystal being. You have poisoned your own atmosphere. You have created weapons capable of ending all life on your world. You fight among yourselves over resources that could be shared. We have overcome those darkest moments, Tae-young argued. We learned from our mistakes. We are better now. Are you? The insect-like delegate gestured with one of its many limbs. Your planet still has active military conflicts. Your people still die from preventable diseases because your economic systems value profit over life. Your oceans rise because you could not stop burning fossil fuels until it was almost too late. Each word hit like a physical blow. Tae-young wanted to defend his species, to explain that they were trying, that progress took time. But looking at the evidence displayed before the council, he felt his arguments crumble. The High Arbiter rose higher, dominating the chamber. The Galactic Council has evaluated your species according to established protocols. We have reviewed your technology, your social structures, your history, and your potential. Tae-young held his breath. Earth is hereby classified as Tier 9, irrelevant. The word hung in the air like poison, irrelevant. What does that mean? Tae-young asked. though he feared he already knew. "It means," said the High Arbiter, "that your species poses no threat and offers no benefit to the greater galactic community. You are too primitive for standard contact protocols. You are denied trade access. You are denied technology exchange. You are denied territorial rights beyond your own solar system." "But," Tae-Young started. "This evaluation is final," the High Arbiter continued. "Earth will be monitored by automated systems. When and if your species reaches Tier 7 classification, you may reapply. Based on your current rate of progress, we estimate this will take approximately 3,000 of your years, if your species survives that long." The last sentence felt like a knife between the ribs. "We will prove you wrong," Tae-Young said quietly. "You will not be given the chance," said the crystal being.
"Irrelevant species are quarantined to their home systems.
"Any attempt to expand beyond your solar system will be met with containment measures." "You are trapping us," Tae-Young said, anger finally breaking through his diplomatic training. "You are condemning us to stagnation." "We are protecting the galaxy from chaos," replied the High Arbiter. "Your kind is dangerous, but only to yourselves. Remain in your system. Do not make us notice you again. This audience is concluded." The floor beneath Tae-Young began to move, carrying him toward the exit. He looked back at the council members, at beings who had existed for millennia, who had mastered technologies that seemed like magic to human eyes. "You are making a mistake," he called out. No one answered. The chamber doors closed behind him with a sound of finality. Tae-Young stood in the corridor, alone except for the 2 robotic escorts that had appeared to guide him back to his ship. His hands were shaking now. His carefully prepared speech had meant nothing. Earth's achievements meant nothing. Humanity meant nothing. The journey back to Earth took 6 weeks. Tae-Young spent most of it staring out the viewport at the stars, thinking about how many of them were home to species that mattered while his did not. When his ship finally approached Earth, he watched the planet grow larger in the viewport. From space, it looked so beautiful. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown continents. Somewhere down there were 8 billion people who were waiting to hear if they had a place in the galaxy. He would have to tell them the truth. They did not. The communication came through before he reached the surface. The United Earth Coalition wanted his report immediately. He transmitted it in writing, unable to face delivering the news aloud. The response was predictable. Outrage. Demands for another hearing. Threats to send more representatives, bigger delegations, better presentations. Tae-Young knew it would not matter. The council had made its judgment. Humanity was irrelevant. As his ship descended through Earth's atmosphere, as he saw the cities and roads and farms spread out below, a strange thought occurred to him. Perhaps being dismissed was not the worst thing that could happen. Perhaps being ignored had its advantages. He did not know then that others on Earth were thinking the same thing. 15 years passed and Earth went silent. At first, the Galactic Council expected protests. They had seen it before with other dismissed species. The angry messages, the desperate pleas for reconsideration, the attempts to prove worthiness through increasingly elaborate demonstrations. But humanity did none of these things. The communication channels remained open. The automated monitoring stations around Sol system continued their observations. But no messages came from Earth. No ships attempted to leave the solar system. No delegations requested another hearing. From the Council's perspective, humanity had accepted its place. Irrelevant and content to remain so, they were wrong. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility that did not appear on any public map, Director Hye-Jin stood before a wall of screens. Each screen showed a different project, a different piece of the puzzle she had been assembling for 14 years. "Status report," she said. The room was filled with people working at terminals, their faces lit by the glow of monitors. These were the best scientists, engineers, and military strategists that Earth had to offer. They had been hand-picked, vetted, and brought to this place under complete secrecy. A young engineer named Ji-Woo looked up from her station. "Quantum communication network is at 97% deployment. We can now send messages to any facility in the solar system without the Council monitors detecting them." Hee-Jin nodded. "And the theoretical range?" "Unlimited," Ji-Woo said with a slight smile. "Quantum entanglement does not care about distance. Once we have paired particles at a destination, we can communicate instantly. The Council uses faster-than-light relays that we can intercept. They will never know we are listening." "Good." Hee-jin turned to another screen. Captain Dongwu, what is the status of the Shadow Fleet? A man in a black military uniform appeared on one of the displays. Behind him, through the viewport of his ship, the curve of Mars was visible. We have completed construction of the 47th vessel. Dark matter shielding is operational on all units. We are invisible to every scanning technology the Council uses. Have you tested this? Hee-jin asked. 3 times, Dongwu replied. We flew one of our ships past a Council monitoring station at a distance of 50 kilometers. No reaction. We are ghosts to them. Hee-jin allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. 14 years ago, when the United Earth Coalition had secretly approved Operation Shadowfall, many had called it impossible. Dark matter was barely understood. Quantum communication was theoretical. Building a hidden fleet while under observation seemed like fantasy. But humanity had always excelled at doing the impossible when their survival depended on it. General Sung-ho, Hee-jin said, addressing another screen. Your report. An older man with gray hair and sharp eyes appeared. The Special Operations Forces are ready. 20,000 soldiers trained in zero-gravity combat, alien environment survival, and infiltration techniques. We have studied every species in the Council. We know their weaknesses. Physical weaknesses? Hee-jin asked. Physical, psychological, and tactical, Sung-ho confirmed. The Korath hive mind has a delay in decision-making when separated from their central nodes. The Veltharn crystalline structures are vulnerable to specific sonic frequencies. The luminary energy beings cannot maintain form in extreme magnetic fields. We have solutions for each of them. Someone in the back of the room spoke up. It was Minho, one of the senior strategic planners. Director, I must ask again. Are we preparing for war? Hee-jin turned to face him. No. We are preparing to never need permission again. The distinction was important. Operation Shadowfall was not about conquering the galaxy. It was about ensuring that no one could ever look at humanity and use the word irrelevant again. The Council thinks we accepted our place, Hee-jin continued. They think we are content to stay in our corner of space, primitive and harmless. This misconception is our greatest advantage. When they finally notice us again, it will be too late for them to stop what we have become. On one of the screens, an image appeared of Earth as seen from orbit. But this was not the Earth that Tae-young had shown the Council 15 years ago. This was Earth surrounded by defense platforms that did not show up on sensors. Earth connected by quantum communication that could not be intercepted. Earth protected by ships that were invisible to those who had dismissed them. Jiwoo spoke again. Director, the Council's monitoring stations are old technology. They use passive scanning. They are waiting for us to do something obvious, something loud. As long as we remain quiet, they will never know what we are building. Then we stay quiet, Hee-jin said, until we are ready. Captain Dongwu appeared again. Director, there is something else. Our long-range scouts have been exploring beyond the solar system using non-standard routes. We have identified 17 systems with habitable planets that are unclaimed by the Council. Unclaimed? Hee-jin raised an eyebrow. The Council has spread itself thin, Dongwu explained. They claim territory, but they do not have the resources to monitor everything. There are gaps in their network. Dead zones where they do not look. Show me, Hee-jin commanded. A star map appeared on the main screen. Red dots marked Council territories. Blue dots showed their monitoring stations. And there, in the spaces between, were unmarked systems. Dozens of them. We could reach these systems without being detected, Dongwu said. The question is whether we should. Hee-jin studied the map. Every instinct told her to move slowly, to continue building strength before revealing themselves. But another part of her remembered the shame of Earth's dismissal. Remembered being called irrelevant. Not yet, she decided. We need more ships, more soldiers, more preparation. When we move, it must be decisive. General Sung-ho spoke from his screen. How will we know when the time is right? We will know, Hee-jin said. Something will happen that forces our hand, an opportunity or a threat. When it comes, we must be ready to act. She did not know how prophetic those words would be. The meeting continued for another hour, reviewing dozens of projects across the solar system, research stations on Europa studying alien biology, manufacturing facilities on the moon producing stealth vessels, training centers on Mars preparing soldiers for combat in alien environments. Everything humanity was doing, they were doing in shadow. When the meeting finally ended, Hee-jin remained alone in the command center. The screens around her showed the steady progress of Operation Shadowfall. In orbit above Earth, construction had begun on the largest ship humanity had ever attempted to build. The Council's monitors could not see it, hidden behind a field of dark matter that bent light and sensor beams around it like water around a stone. The ship had no official name yet, but the workers called it the Indomitable. Hai-Jin wondered if they would ever need to use it. Part of her hoped not. Part of her hoped humanity could continue developing in peace, slowly advancing until they legitimately earned the Council's respect. But another part of her, the part that had watched Ambassador Tae-Young's humiliation broadcasted across Earth, wanted the Council to push, wanted them to give humanity a reason to show what 15 years of silence had built. She pulled up a communication file marked with the highest security clearance. It was a message recorded by Tae-Young himself, made shortly before he retired from diplomatic service. She had watched it many times, but its words never lost their power. Tae-Young's face appeared on the screen, older and wearier than when he had stood before the Council. To whoever leads Earth when the time comes, he said, remember that we were dismissed not because we were weak, but because we were honest. We showed them who we were and they found us wanting. So let this be our strategy. Show them nothing. Be nothing in their eyes. And when they have forgotten us completely, when we are beneath their notice, become everything they feared we could be. Not for revenge, but for survival. Hai-Jin closed the file. Tae-Young had died 2 years ago, but his vision lived on in Operation Shadowfall, in the invisible ships, in the hidden soldiers, in the technology that the Council's ancient sensors could not detect. Humanity had been called irrelevant, so they had become invisible, and in their invisibility, they were becoming something that the galaxy had never seen before. Something dangerous, something patient, something inevitable. The planet designated Kepler 442b was not supposed to be anyone's concern. It sat in a region of space that the Galactic Council maps marked as frontier territory, which was a polite way of saying nobody important cared about it. The planet had minerals, water, and breathable atmosphere, but it was far from major trade routes, far from Council worlds, and therefore far from Council law. Young-Sik had chosen it for exactly those reasons. The mining expedition had been his idea. 53 people, 4 transport ships, and enough equipment to establish a basic colony. They had left Earth quietly, using routes that Captain Dongwoo's scouts had mapped through the gaps in Council monitoring. The journey had taken 11 months, but they had arrived safely and undetected. For 6 months, they had been mining rare Earth elements and transmitting their findings back to Earth through quantum communication. The work was hard but rewarding. They were pioneers, the first humans to establish a permanent presence outside the solar system. Then the Korath arrived. Young-Sik was in the command center when the alarms began. Security Chief Kyung-Mi burst through the door, her face pale. We have ships in orbit, she said. 7 of them. They are not human. Young-Sik felt his stomach drop. Are they Council? I do not think so. Kyung-Mi pulled up a display showing the vessels. They were organic-looking, with surfaces that seemed to ripple and move. They matched the description of Korath bioships, the Korath. Young-Sik remembered the briefings. A hive mind species, aggressive and territorial. They operated in the frontier regions where Council law was thin. They took what they wanted and asked no permission. Are they hailing us? Young-Sik asked. Yes, but I cannot understand the language. The translator is not working properly. Young-Sik grabbed a tablet and accessed the linguistic database that Earth had compiled from stolen Council records. He ran the Korath communication through it and waited for the translation. When it came, his blood went cold. This territory is claimed by the Korath Collective. All mining operations will cease. All equipment will be transferred to our control. All biological entities will be processed for labor assignment. Processed for labor assignment. The database said that meant slavery. Send a response, Young-Sik said, keeping his voice steady. Tell them this is a human mining operation operating under United Earth Authority. We claim no territory. We will negotiate resource sharing. Kyung-Mi transmitted the message. They waited. The response was not diplomatic. The first Korath bioship descended toward the colony. As it entered the atmosphere, Young-Sik could see through the command center windows that it was massive, at least 3 times the size of their largest transport. Its surface was covered in what looked like dark purple skin, pulsing with veins of bioluminescent light. They are landing outside the perimeter. Kyungmi reported. I am reading life signs. Hundreds of them. Sound the alarm, Young-sik ordered. Get everyone to the shelters. Activate all defenses. The colony's defenses were not meant for military action. They had barrier fields to protect against radiation and storms. They had a few construction mechs that could be weaponized if needed, but they were miners, not soldiers. Through the windows, Young-sik watched as the Korath began pouring out of their landed ship. They moved like insects with too many legs and bodies covered in thick armor plates. Each one carried what looked like biological weapons, organic guns that grew from their own bodies. Kyungmi was at the security console, her fingers flying across the controls. Barriers at maximum. I am arming the automated defense turrets. How long can we hold? Young-sik asked. She looked at him and her expression told him everything. Maybe an hour, maybe less. Young-sik pulled out his personal communicator, the quantum device that connected directly to Earth. He sent a priority message. Under attack. Kepler 442b, Korath. Request immediate assistance. The response came back almost instantly. It was not from Director Hyejin or anyone in Operation Shadowfall. It was an automated reply from the United Earth Coalition's diplomatic office. Your message has been received. Be advised that Kepler 442b is outside Council-recognized human territory. The Galactic Council has been notified of your situation. They will provide arbitration if appropriate. Young-sik stared at the message in disbelief. Arbitration. The Council would hold meetings while his people died. He sent another message, this time directly to the Shadowfall network. Emergency. We are dying out here. Is anyone listening? This time there was no reply at all. Outside, the Korath had reached the colony's outer barriers. They did not bother negotiating. They simply opened fire with their biological weapons, launching projectiles that exploded on impact and released acid that ate through metal and plastic. Barriers are failing, Kyungmi reported. Section 3 is breached. Young-sik grabbed a communication headset. All personnel, this is Young-sik. Fall back to the central habitat. Activate emergency protocols. We are going to have to fight. Around the colony, miners who had never held weapons picked up whatever they could find. Construction tools became clubs. Mining lasers became guns. Kyungmi distributed the few actual firearms they had. Civilian hunting weapons brought for protection against local wildlife. It was not going to be enough. The Korath broke through the barriers and entered the colony. They moved with terrifying efficiency, their hive-mind coordination allowing them to flank and surround any resistance. The miners fought bravely, but they were outmatched. Young-sik was in the central habitat coordinating the defense when Kyungmi came running. They have taken the east sector. 15 people captured. They are being dragged back to the ships. Can we mount a rescue? Young-sik asked, even though he knew the answer. Not without getting everyone killed. Young-sik slammed his fist against the wall. They had come here to build something, to show that humanity could thrive beyond Earth. And now they were being crushed by a species that did not even recognize their right to exist. Another message came through his quantum communicator. But this one was different. The encryption was military grade. The source was marked as Shadow Fleet Command. Hold position. Help is coming. Estimate 48 hours. Keep your people alive. That is an order. Young-sik read the message 3 times to make sure it was real. Help was coming. But 48 hours might as well be forever when measured in lives. Everyone, he announced over the colony-wide channel. We need to hold for 2 days. I know that seems impossible, but I promise you Earth has not forgotten us. We are not alone out here. He hoped he was telling the truth. The fighting continued through the night. The Korath did not seem to tire. They attacked in waves, probing for weaknesses, taking prisoners when they could. Kyungmi organized a desperate defense using knowledge of the colony layout to set traps and ambushes. She had been a military officer before joining the mining expedition, and those skills were now keeping people alive. But slowly, inevitably, they were being pushed back. 20 hours after the attack began, half the colony was in Korath hands. 32 people were dead. Another 20 were captured. The survivors were packed into the central habitat, exhausted and running out of ammunition. Young-sik sent another message to the Shadow Fleet. We are running out of time. The response was immediate. 30 hours remaining. Hold position. Kyungmi appeared beside him, covered in dust and blood. Some of it was hers. Most was not. They are bringing up heavy weapons. They are going to shell the habitat. We cannot survive that. Young-Sik looked at his people, scared, tired, but still fighting, still believing that help would come. Then we make them pay for every meter, he said. The Korath bombardment began at dawn. The habitat's shields held for the first few strikes, then began to fail. Alarms blared as structural damage mounted, but the attack suddenly stopped. Through the cracked windows of the habitat, Young-Sik saw why. The Korath were pulling back. All of them, simultaneously, returning to their ships in perfect formation. Within minutes, the bioships were lifting off, returning to orbit. What are they doing? Someone asked. Kyungmi was at the sensors. Her eyes went wide. There are ships in orbit. New ships. They are not Korath, Council, Young-Sik asked. No. Kyungmi's voice was barely a whisper. They are ours. On the screen, Young-Sik saw them. 7 human ships, sleek and dark, arranged in a formation around the fleeing Korath vessels. They had appeared from nowhere, invisible until they chose to be seen. The Shadow Fleet had arrived, and now the Korath were the ones who needed to be afraid. Commander Jae-hyun stood on the bridge of the stealth destroyer Phantom, watching the Korath bioships scramble in panic. After 15 years of preparation, after countless simulations and training exercises, Operation Shadowfall was finally becoming real. All ships, maintain formation, he said calmly. Target locks on all 7 enemy vessels. Do not fire until I give the order. Around him, the bridge crew worked in focused silence. These were people who had trained their entire adult lives for this moment. People who understood that what happened in the next few hours would determine whether humanity remained trapped in their solar system forever, or whether they would take their place among the stars. On the tactical display, the Korath ships were attempting to regroup in orbit. They had stopped their retreat and were forming a defensive position. Clearly, they had detected the human vessels despite the stealth shielding. Lieutenant Bo-Ra looked up from her station. Commander, we are receiving a transmission from the lead Korath ship. They are demanding we identify ourselves. Ignore it, Jae-hyun said. Helm, bring us to attack position Delta. Weapons, I want firing solutions on their propulsion systems. We are not here to destroy them. We are here to disable them. The Phantom moved silently through space, invisible to conventional sensors. The other 6 ships of the strike group moved with it, maintaining perfect coordination without radio communication. They used quantum entanglement links that the Korath could not detect or jam. Commander, said the weapons officer, a young man named Tae-hyun. Solutions locked. But sir, the Korath are powering up their weapons. If we wait, they will fire first. Jae-hyun studied the display. The Korath were aggressive by nature. Their hive mind made them fearless. They would not surrender or retreat once committed to combat. This was going to end in violence no matter what he did. All ships, he transmitted through the quantum link. Execute attack pattern Sierra. Target propulsion only. Fire when ready. The Phantom's railgun spun up to firing speed. Electromagnetic coils charged with enough energy to accelerate projectiles to a significant fraction of light speed. When they fired, there would be no warning, no visible beam or missile trail. Just sudden, devastating impact. The Korath never saw it coming. The first volley struck 3 of the bioships simultaneously. Railgun slugs punched through their organic hulls and shredded the propulsion organs. The ships listed sideways, bleeding fluids into the vacuum of space, suddenly unable to maneuver. Direct hits, Tae-hyun reported. 3 targets disabled. The remaining 4 Korath ships opened fire wildly, spraying biological projectiles in all directions. They could not see the human ships, so they were shooting at where they thought their enemies might be. Most of the shots flew harmlessly into empty space. One lucky shot came close to the Phantom, close enough that it detonated against their shields, rocking the ship. Shields holding at 87%, Bo-Ra reported. No structural damage. Continue the attack, Jae-hyun ordered. Do not let them regroup. The 7 human ships split formation, executing maneuvers that would have been impossible for Council vessels with their predictable tactics and centralized command structures. The Shadow Fleet had trained differently. Each captain had complete autonomy, able to make split-second decisions without waiting for orders. They moved like predators hunting together, each one instinctively knowing where the others would be. 2 more Korath ships fell within minutes, their propulsion systems destroyed by precise railgun fire. The remaining two attempted to flee, accelerating away from Kepler 442b at maximum speed. Captain Dongwu reports his squadron is in pursuit, Bora said. Jae-hyun pulled up the tactical feed from Dongwu's ships. The captain was leading 3 stealth vessels in a high-speed chase, matching the Korath acceleration and slowly gaining ground. Commander, Tae-hyun said hesitantly, should we let one escape? To carry word back to the Korath collective? It was a good question. Let them all die here, and the Korath might send a larger force to investigate. Let one escape, and humanity's secret was revealed, but revealed on humanity's terms with a message of their choosing. Contact Captain Dongwu, Jae-hyun decided. Tell him to disable one ship and destroy the other, and tell him to deliver our message to the survivors. 10 minutes later it was done. One Korath bioship drifted dead in space, its hull punctured by railgun fire. The other was crippled but intact, its crew still alive. Captain Dongwu's face appeared on the communication screen. He was older than Jae-hyun, a veteran of Earth's old military conflicts who had been recruited into Operation Shadowfall in its earliest days. The target is disabled, Dongwu reported. Preparing to transmit your message. Good, Jae-hyun said. And Captain? Make sure they understand. This is not a warning. This is a promise, Dongwu smiled grimly. Understood, Commander. The message was transmitted on all Korath frequencies, in their own language, translated by AI systems that had been studying council linguistics for 15 years. Attention, Korath Collective. This is Captain Dongwu of the United Earth Shadow Fleet. You attacked human civilians in unclaimed space. You attempted to enslave our people. This was your mistake. Earth was declared irrelevant by the Galactic Council. We took that declaration seriously. While the galaxy ignored us, we built. We prepared. We became what the galaxy refused to acknowledge. You came to our frontier and found us weak. You were wrong. This is your only warning. Leave human space. Do not return. Do not test us again. Earth remembers being irrelevant, do you? The crippled Korath ship did not respond. It simply activated its emergency faster-than-light drive and jumped away, limping back toward Korath space with a story that no one would believe. Jae-hyun watched it disappear from sensors, then turned his attention to the planet below. Status of the colony? Bora pulled up the report. 32 dead, 20 captured by the Korath before we arrived. The captured colonists are aboard the disabled bioships. Send rescue teams, Jae-hyun ordered. Recover our people. And Bora, send a message to the colony commander. Tell Young-sik that Earth does not abandon its own. The rescue operation took 3 hours. The captured colonists were found alive, traumatized but unharmed. The Korath had been in the process of preparing them for transport to their homeworld when the Shadow Fleet attacked. Young-sik himself came aboard the Phantom to meet Jae-hyun. The mining expedition leader looked exhausted, his clothes torn and stained, but his eyes were fierce. You came, Young-sik said. I was not sure anyone would. Jae-hyun clasped his hand. We will always come. That is the promise of Operation Shadowfall. Humanity is no longer alone and helpless. We protect our own now. Young-sik looked around the bridge, taking in the advanced technology, the military precision of the crew, the ship itself that could disappear from sensors at will. How long has Earth been building this? 20 years, Jae-hyun replied. Since the day the Council called us irrelevant, we decided that the best response to being dismissed was to become undismissible. What happens now? Young-sik asked. The Korath will tell others. The Council will find out. Jae-hyun nodded slowly. Yes, they will. And that is exactly what we want. For 20 years we have been invisible. Now it is time to be seen, but on our terms. On the tactical display, Jae-hyun pulled up a star map. It showed not just Kepler 442b, but dozens of other systems throughout the frontier region. Some were marked with red flags indicating Korath presence. Others showed different colors for different species. There are 17 human expeditions operating in frontier space, Jae-hyun explained. Mining, research, and colonization efforts. Until today, they were all vulnerable, unprotected. The Council told us we could not expand beyond our solar system. We did it anyway. And now we have shown that we can defend what we have claimed. Young-sik studied the map. This is going to start a war. Maybe, Jae-hyun admitted. Or maybe it will start a negotiation. The Council dismissed us because they thought we were weak. Now they will have to reconsider. Either way, humanity is no longer irrelevant. A communication came through from Earth. Director Hye-jin's face appeared on the screen. She looked older than Jae-hyun remembered, the stress of 2 decades of secret preparation showing in the lines around her eyes. "Commander Jae-hyun report," she said. "Mission successful, Director. 7 Korath vessels engaged and defeated. Colony secured. 0 human casualties in the space engagement. 1 Korath ship allowed to escape with our message." Hye-jin closed her eyes briefly, relief evident on her face. "Good work, Commander. Bring your fleet home. We need to prepare for what comes next." "What will come next, Director?" Jae-hyun asked. Hye-jin looked directly at the camera, and Jae-hyun saw something he had never seen in her expression before. Not fear, but anticipation, perhaps even excitement. "The Council ignored us for 20 years, she said. "In approximately 72 hours, when the Korath report reaches Council space, that will change. They will notice us. They will investigate. They will make demands. And we will show them exactly what 20 years of being irrelevant has created." The communication ended. Jae-hyun turned back to the viewport, watching the planet Kepler 442b slowly rotating below. On its surface, 53 miners had defied the galaxy's most powerful governing body. They had claimed a world that was not theirs to claim. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was called within 36 hours of the Korath incident. In the grand chamber above Valorum Prime, delegates from 200 species gathered in confusion and concern. Emergency sessions were rare. They were called only for threats to galactic stability. No one could understand why a minor skirmish in frontier space warranted such attention. High Arbiter Veltharn materialized at the center of the chamber, its crystalline form glowing with authority. The ancient being had overseen the Council for 3,000 years. It had seen species rise and fall, wars begin and end, threats emerge and be neutralized. In all that time, few things had surprised it. The report from the Korath Collective was one of those few things. "Delegates." Veltharn's voice resonated through the chamber. "We have received a concerning report from the Korath Frontier Forces. A patrol encountered an unauthorized settlement in unclaimed space and attempted to enforce territorial rights. They were engaged by unknown vessels using stealth technology that evaded all sensors. 7 ships were destroyed or disabled. The survivors report that the attacking force identified itself as human." Silence fell across the chamber, then murmuring began, spreading like ripples in water. "Human?" said one delegate. "A being of living metal from the Pharaoh Collective." "The species from Earth? The one classified as irrelevant 20 years ago." "The same," Veltharn confirmed. The crystalline being that had spoken at Earth's original evaluation chimed like broken glass. "This is clearly a mistake. The humans have no such technology. They barely achieved fusion power when we evaluated them. They possessed no stealth capability, no advanced weaponry, no expansion infrastructure. Illuminari energy being pulsed with what might have been amusement. Perhaps the Korath exaggerated their losses. Their hive mind does not handle defeat well. They may have embellished the report to save face." "The report includes sensor logs," Veltharn said. "Damaged but functional. The technology used against the Korath does not match any known Council species. The attack patterns were unlike anything in our tactical databases." The insect-like delegate from Earth's original hearing clicked its mandibles. "Then perhaps the humans acquired help, purchased technology from a Council species illegally, or found ancient equipment from a dead civilization. These frontier regions contain many ruins. That is one possibility," Veltharn acknowledged. "But the message transmitted by the human forces suggests otherwise. They claim to have built this capability themselves during the 20 years since their evaluation." More murmuring. Some delegates laughed. The idea was absurd. Species did not advance that quickly. Technological development followed predictable curves, studied and documented over millions of years of Council history. You could not jump from primitive fusion to advanced stealth systems in 2 decades. It was impossible. "Clearly this requires investigation," said a delegate from one of the Council's founding species. "But I question whether an emergency session was necessary. Send a reconnaissance fleet to Earth's solar system. Determine what actually happened. This seems like an administrative matter, not a crisis." "I agree," said another delegate. 20 years ago, we saw Earth's capabilities. They had 23 vessels armed with kinetic weapons. Even if they have built more in the intervening years, they pose no threat to the Council." Veltharn pulsed with something like frustration. These younger species did not understand, could not understand. In 3,000 years, the High Arbiter had learned to recognize patterns, and the pattern here was troubling. Nevertheless, Veltharn said firmly, the Council will investigate. I propose we send a full inspection fleet to Earth system. If the humans have violated expansion protocols, they will be contained. If they have acquired illegal technology, it will be confiscated. If they have made military agreements with other species, those agreements will be terminated. And if they resist? Asked the Luminary delegate. They will not resist, said the crystalline being with absolute confidence. They are one species on one planet. We are the Council. They will comply or face corrective measures, a vote was called. The resolution passed easily. A Council fleet would be dispatched to Sol system within the week. They would arrive, assert authority, and resolve this minor situation. The delegates began to disperse, already moving on to more important matters. A species that had been irrelevant 2 decades ago was still irrelevant now, regardless of what they might claim. Only High Arbiter Veltharn remained in the chamber after the others left, studying the Korath sensor logs in detail. Something about this situation felt wrong. The attack patterns shown in the logs were efficient, ruthless, and precise. They showed no hesitation, no learning curve. These humans had known exactly what they were doing. Veltharn pulled up Earth's file from the Council archives. The evaluation from 20 years ago appeared, including footage of Ambassador Tae Young's presentation. The High Arbiter watched the human stand before the Council, showing his species' primitive warships, pleading for recognition. Then Veltharn pulled up current monitoring data from Sol system. The automated stations around Earth's solar system transmitted continuously, showing orbital traffic, energy signatures, and communication patterns. Everything appeared normal. Earth's orbit showed activity consistent with a developing spacefaring civilization. Nothing unusual, nothing threatening, but the Korath report said the human ships appeared from nowhere, stealth technology that could fool sensors. If that was true, then the monitoring stations would not detect them either, which meant Earth could have an entire fleet, and the Council would never know. Veltharn dismissed the thought. Stealth technology of that sophistication required understanding of dark matter manipulation, quantum field theory, and exotic physics that took most species thousands of years to develop. Humans barely understood fusion. They could not have made such a leap unless they had helper. Unless the Council's evaluation had been wrong, Veltharn did not like either possibility. The inspection fleet was assembled over the next 5 days. 23 Council warships, each one more powerful than anything Earth possessed during their evaluation. The fleet was commanded by Admiral Kresh, a veteran military leader from the Veltharn species. Kresh had overseen dozens of containment operations against species that violated Council law. This mission would be routine. The fleet departed from Valorum Prime with orders to enter Sol system, assess the situation, and establish Council authority over any human expansion efforts. If the humans cooperated, there would be no violence. If they resisted, the fleet had authorization to use whatever force was necessary to enforce compliance. It would take the fleet 2 weeks to reach Earth at standard faster than light speeds. Meanwhile, in Sol system, Earth was preparing. Director He-Jin stood in the command center deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, watching as reports flooded in from quantum communication networks across human space. The Council was coming. Their fleet had been detected by human scouts the moment it left Valorum Prime. 2 weeks, said General Sung-ho, studying the tactical displays. That gives us enough time. Time for what? Asked a new voice. Ambassador Tae-wan entered the command center. He was young, only 30 years old, but he carried himself with the weight of history. His grandfather had been Tae Young, the man who stood before the Council and heard humanity declared irrelevant. Tae-wan had grown up with that shame, had devoted his life to ensuring it never happened again. Time to recall the Shadow Fleet, He-Jin said. Time to position our forces. Time to prepare Earth's defenses. The Council is sending 23 ships. They think that is overwhelming force. Is it not? Tae-wan asked. 20 years ago, yes, He-Jin replied. Today, they will find out. She pulled up a tactical display of Sol system. It showed Earth, Mars, and the outer planets. But overlaid on the display were red markers indicating hidden assets. Defense platforms that did not show up on sensors. Ships concealed in asteroid fields. Weapon systems buried on moons and scattered throughout the asteroid belt. How many ships do we have? Taewon asked. In Sol system, 147, Sung Ho replied, plus another 70 scattered throughout the frontier regions. But we are recalling most of the frontier fleet. When the council arrives, we will have 206 vessels ready for deployment. Taewon stared at the numbers in disbelief. 200? How is that possible? The council thinks we have fewer than 50. The council sees what we want them to see, Hyejin said. For 20 years we have been building in shadows piece by piece, always keeping our actual strength hidden. We allowed their monitoring stations to see some construction, enough to seem like normal development. But the majority of our fleet was built in facilities they do not know exist. Jiwoo appeared on one of the screens. The quantum communication scientist looked exhausted but excited. Director, all ships have been recalled. ETA for complete assembly is 10 days. We will be ready when the council arrives. What about civilian populations? Taewon asked. If there is going to be fighting in Sol system, evacuation protocols are already underway, Sung Ho interrupted. Critical personnel are being moved to hardened facilities. Civilian populations on Mars and Luna are being moved to underground shelters.